Hi, my name is Catherine, and today I'm going to show you how to make tortilla soup that is based on a really labor-intensive recipe, and I figured out a way to kind of make it faster without compromising the quality of the end result. So what I have here, I've gone ahead and started, is I have an onion that's chopped and one red bell pepper, and it's sauteing in some olive oil with salt and pepper. And what I want to point out is that it's really important to take this step to the point that there's not a smidge of raw onion or pepper left, and everything is kind of just beginning to take on color, but it's still soft. We're not looking for like crispy onion bits. We're just looking for soft, nicely golden brown vegetables. This will make the base of our soup have a nice depth of flavor. Okay, once you're here, what we're gonna add is 6 cloves of garlic that are chopped. We add this at the end so that the garlic doesn't burn. Stir that in. You want to give raw garlic about a minute to cook so that it's not raw anymore, but also so that it's not charred and burned. Also at this time, I'm going to add our spices. And in this soup, there's a combination of 2 chili powders and cumin. So cumin is pretty straightforward. If you're looking for ground cumin. There is what I would call grocery store chili powder, which is just your plain run-of-the-mill chili powder. There's not a lot of heat in it. It's not spicy, but it definitely has that distinctive chili powder flavor. There is also ancho chili powder. Ancho chili powder is made exclusively from poblano peppers, and it is a little bit spicier than grocery store chili powder, but not near as spicy as chipotle or anything like that. It brings a nice smoky flavor. If for some reason you can't find the ancho chili powder, just double the amount of the regular, or substitute the amount of the regular grocery store chili powder, you'll be fine. But it's one of those little details that really makes a difference in the end. So what I'm doing here is the heat from the pan is hitting the spices, and this is called blooming the spices. This is a step where the oils and the spices are brought out by the heat. And the difference between doing it now instead of just like throwing it into the finished soup is profound. This step really brings the spices to life in a way that you can taste. Like, it's remarkable. So don't skip this step. So the garlic is sauteing, the spices are blooming, and after about 60 seconds, everything's kind of where it needs to be, and we are going to add our chicken stock. This recipe calls for 4 cups of chicken stock. You can use store-bought or homemade, but just go ahead and add it in. Always remember that whatever chicken stock you end up using is going to have an effect on the final saltiness of the dish. So just keep that in mind. I am very specific about telling you how much seasoning I think something needs to have in it. But there are some variables like chicken stock that will affect. So if you use a reduced sodium chicken stock, or if your homemade chicken stock doesn't have very much salt in it, you may need to taste at the end and add a little more than I say. Okay, we're gonna stop at this point because what needs to happen is this is gonna come up to a very gentle simmer. I'm going to put the lid on it, and it's gonna simmer covered for about 15 minutes. Why? We're just trying to get those spices to continue to infuse our broth. We want the sauteed vegetables, the fat from the olive oil, the salt, the cumin, the chili powders, the garlic. It's all just gonna continue to intensify as it simmers. So we're kind of like making an amped up broth here. So I'm gonna bring this to a simmer, cover it 15 minutes, and then I'll be back. Okay, we're back 15 minutes later. My broth is now just totally infused with all those spices, all that garlic, all those nicely sauteed vegetables. And now we're gonna add some tomatoes. But here's what we're gonna do. There are a number of ways that you can do this next step. I'm going to be using a blender. You could also use a food processor, or you could use an immersion blender in a separate container. Don't do this in the pot with the soup. So we need tomatoes, but what we really need is a tomato broth. And in the original version of the soup, you roast these tomatoes, you puree them all, and you're like doing it all from scratch. I found a quicker, faster, equally delicious way. We're gonna start with 1 can of just standard diced tomatoes. No bells or whistles, just good old standard tomatoes. So pour those and their juices, don't drain them, into the Vitamix. Then we need the equivalent of 3 cans, and what I have today here is 1 standard size can and then 1 of the big guys, and that equals, this one equals 2, 2 plus 1 is 3. These are fire roasted diced tomatoes. And if you've never worked with these, they have little bits of like black char on them where the tomatoes have been roasted first and then they've been diced, and essentially they've done the work for us. So you get this really nice charred flavor on top of the tomatoes. It's fantastic. So we're gonna put this in here and we're gonna add, this is equal to 2 cans, put that in there. And then we're gonna mix this, and you need it to be liquidy. You need it to be all the way pureed. So I'm gonna turn this on for just a second. It shouldn't take very long. You're going for brothy. You're going for like tomato broth. So don't leave any chunks. And in the Vitamix, that just really doesn't take very long. Okay, so now we have this tomato, it's like chunky tomato juice, honestly. Tomato broth. We're gonna add this to our spice infused, kind of splattery. So I usually like use my spoon to soften the blow a bit. So we add all these delicious tomatoes, pureed, into our soup. This is gonna infuse with the spices that are already there, but now we need to season all those tomatoes. They need some salt in order to come to life. So we're gonna add 3 teaspoons of salt, which sounds like a lot, and it is because we just put a lot of unseasoned tomatoes into our bowl. Okay, so stir that salt in, and then this is the point where we're gonna bring it back up to a gentle simmer. Gonna put the lid back on it. We're gonna walk away for about an hour, and we're just gonna let everything kind of marry together and get even better than it is on its own. And once that's done, I'll show you how to finish it. So this is the easy part. I'm gonna put the lid on, bring it back to a simmer. I'll be back to show you how to finish it in about an hour. Okay, we're back. It's an hour later. I wanna show you what's going on here. The reason that we simmer it with the lid on is because we're not trying to reduce this mixture down. We're trying to just intensify the flavors and let it meld. And so what we have here is this gloriously flavored tomato mixture that's just, I really wish you could smell it. It's insane. And to think that this came from canned tomatoes and some carefully chosen spices is just incredible. It's all about the method here. You can't get this from just dumping cans in and walking away and serving it. Like these little differences make huge difference in taste. Okay, the only thing left to do here is to add the corn and the chicken. 2 notes on that. 100% use frozen corn, unless you just live on a corn farm and have access to really fresh corn. Just buy frozen corn. You need 8 ounces. You can throw it in frozen and it'll defrost in the soup, or you can thaw it ahead of time. It doesn't matter. Stir that in, and then you need 24 ounces of cooked chicken, which is like roughly, I've got 6 cups here, but any chicken works. If you want to poach it, if you want to buy it, if you want to pull apart a rotisserie chicken, it doesn't matter on the chicken, just whatever's easy for you. I have before bought the, I think it's Tyson, that sells like the frozen fajita chicken strips. You can totally buy that. You thaw it and cut it up, that works too. But just add some chicken to the soup. And at this point, we're just gonna heat it until the chicken and the corn are hot all the way through. We don't need to like let this simmer for much longer, because the chicken honestly will start to kind of break down, and that's not what we want. So at this point, our chicken tortilla soup is ready to serve. And as we all know, the best part of tortilla soup is the toppings. So you can top it with cheese, cilantro, sour cream, corn chips, whatever you like, fresh jalapenos, pickled jalapenos, that's kind of fun too. But not only is this a delicious dinner for your family this fall, it makes a really great meal to take someone. It's really fun to package it in a quart, give them little containers of the toppings, a bag of tortilla chips. It's a great meal to take someone. I hope you enjoy tortilla soup this fall.